is it so important to surround yourself with like-minded individuals? Welcome or welcome back. It's your favorite mental health specialist, Ty Guidance, and that is what we're going to be talking about in today's video. With that being said, because there is no right or wrong way to heal yourself, always and only take what resonates as well as leave the rest. So if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But most importantly, grab your pens and your paper and be prepared to take notes. In this video, we're going to go over why it's so important to surround yourself with like-minded people, as well as a couple of recommendations, a couple of reminders, some disclaimers, and what to be aware of when building your community. Now, starting off with the disclaimers, the reason why it's so important to surround yourself with like-minded people is because birds of a feather flock together. The people you surround yourself with are going to affect you. They're going to influence you. They're going to affect you emotionally, physically, financially, subconsciously, howeverly, mentally. They're going to influence you. And you're asking yourself, well, how can they influence you? Well, because when you surround yourself with certain people, subconsciously, you pick up on their energies. You pick up on their behaviors. You pick up on their mannerisms because you guys are connected. You have to realize that when you are surrounded by people who pour into you and who share similar interests, the relationships not only are healthier, but the relationships allow you to prosper, which means you're able to prosper and your community is able to grow and vibrate on a high frequency. And because we're all about healing and vibing high, when you surround yourself with people who are not compatible with you, who are not on the same frequency, it will lower your frequency. Some people do it intentionally, like there are people who self-sabotage and sabotage others because they have envy, fear, or they're just on a low vibration. Rather, it's because they were taught and shown. That's where bullies are. That's what people are who are considered to be narcissistic, or toxic. Or then you have some people who do it because they have insecurities and they have fear. So if you surround yourself with people that are insecure and all they do is talk about insecurities and you're not able to have a strong sense of self, you're going to start to believe those things, or you're going to come into an agreement with those things. Now, of course, the second disclaimer, just because you disagree with people, just because you have differences, doesn't always mean that you're not in alignment with certain people. But if it's to a point where you guys are not able to respect each other's differences, learn from each other's perspectives, and understand that everyone has a different perspective and that life is different for other people, you're constantly going to have confusion. You're constantly going to have tension. And anything that confuses you is not for you. And I've talked about that in a separate video. When your relationships with people, when you're getting to know people, you should never feel unsure about them. It should always be mutual. But a lot of people settle. A lot of people just surround themselves with any and everybody. They know they feel confused. They pour into people. And this is why people always, when they leave relationships and it's negative, they want to tell people's business, or they want to take advantage of people. And people constantly feel like they're unworthy and not being appreciated. But it's like, at a certain point, just because what people do is not right or acceptable, you cannot allow it. A lot of people love to blame everybody else, and it's like you have to hold yourself accountable. Even with myself, there were times based off of circumstances where I went to school with certain people, or I worked with certain people, or I was in proximity to certain people, and instead of me blaming their character, their energy, their mindset, knowing that I wasn't compatible with them, I just had to realize, what can I do to separate myself, or if I'm willing to tolerate those things? Now, of course, because once again, a lot of us, when we're young, we don't get to pick and choose the people we go to school with. You do learn to tolerate people. Even at work, you don't get to pick your coworkers. You do have a certain level of professionalism. But once you're no longer there, you get to decide if you want to continue to engage and you surround yourself with those people. But it's important that even when you are in these certain situations, like myself, accepting that certain people are a certain type of way, and instead of going back and forth with them, instead of trying to force things, just either accept them for who they are, agree to disagree, or just completely avoid them and don't speak to them unless you have to. And then, like I said, when you are in those situations, figure out your exit plan. Like, there are a lot of people who I've encountered at school and at work, and like I said, just in passing, where I knew I wasn't compatible with them. So instead of me judging them and letting them allow them to disturb my spirit or get me out of character or go back and forth with them, separate myself from them. Even with people that you're related to, a lot of people trauma bond. That's the third thing to be aware of. A lot of people trauma bond. A lot of people don't have real relationships with people because they took the time to get to know people. They took the time to be patient with people. They took the time to allow people to exist. A lot of people are only associated with people based off of drama, based off of trauma, based off of struggle, based off of pain. And speaking from experience where I'm at in my life, and what I recommend to you all is not being in relationships with people for those reasons. Like, even if it's your family members, even if it's the people that are closest to you, I don't want relationships with my family members or people I'm not in school anymore, but people that I'm in school with or people that I work with to be based off of negativity, drama, gossip, slander, or any of those things. That's what bullies are. That's what narcissists are. That's narcissistic tendencies. It's not healthy. So it's like, those are the words, those are some disclaimers. Like, once again, you're not always going to see eye to eye with people, but when you're building your community, you're willing to be patient. So it's like, whatever you are for yourself, you should want in proximity to you. So therefore, you know it's in alignment with you. Anything that disturbs your peace, anything that's hard and difficult, and I'm going to make that into a separate video, you shouldn't want. Anything that causes you confusion, you shouldn't want. You should never be confused about how someone feels towards you, because once again, why are you in a relationship with them? So before I get into the reminders, the last disclaimer and the last thing to just be aware of, and excuse me, I meant to say recommendations, is that if you are not somebody who's comfortable with sitting in your own energy, don't try to force yourselves in a relationship with people. I've realized that a lot of people, when they're not comfortable with themselves, this is why people settle. They literally hang out with any and everybody because they're bored, or because they have codependency issues, they have attachment issues, they're not used to being alone. I'm the type of person, I'd rather be alone before I'm in a relationship with any and anybody. I don't care if it's my family, friends, whoever, because it's like, if I don't have myself together, if I don't pour into myself, why should I expect other people to pour into me or for them to pour into me? It's not fair. And that's why, speaking from experience, a lot of people feel like good people come last, but it's like, you're tolerating people who are showing you and who've told you that they are not in the best shape of themselves. And it's like, if you want to be in a relationship with people, if people want to be in a relationship with you, they can accept the fact that, okay, if this person is going to be the best version in the fullest version, because that's what people deserve. You want people to be the best for you, but you can't be the best for yourself. You need to be able to work on yourself. You need to be able to separate yourself. You need to be able to create distance. And if they're really wanting to be in a relationship with you, then I'll respect that. I respect people who can say, you know what, I'm not meant to be in a relationship with you right now, whether it's a husband, a coworker, or etc., and get themselves together than to come into a relationship or build community with me knowing that they have trauma and trials and tribulations and projections and deflections and things they need to work on. And same thing with me. When I build my communities with people, I'm looking for certain characteristics because I have certain characteristics. And this is why it's like, the only people who get mad at you for having standards and having boundaries and are not similar to you are people who are not even for you. Like, the most negativity that I've experienced was with people I wasn't compatible with. And I had to realize that. Instead of me going back and forth with these people, instead of trying to explain certain things to people, instead of trying to change people, accept them for who they are and just realize either you're compatible or you're not. Like I said, even when you guys have differences, you guys are still on the same page. Of course, nobody is the same, so nobody's going to be exactly like you, but you guys should have enough in common and relate to each other to where, with your differences, like I said, instead of using it against each other, you work with each other. Instead of trying to challenge one another, instead of being egotistical, instead of being arrogant, instead of looking down or thinking you're better or that there's one way to do something, learning from it. Sympathizing with people, empathizing with people. I don't surround myself with people who cannot empathize and sympathize with me. I don't surround myself with people who are not patient, and everyone's not like that. That's why my community, I think it's really important to be careful who you call friends with. A lot of people I feel like are associates because, like I said, in school, a lot of these people are just associates. They are just people that you just happen to know because your parents live in a certain community, certain neighborhood, and that's the school that you were assigned to. You didn't get to pick those things. Same thing with your jobs. You don't get to pick the people that work there. These are just people that you work with. If people are able to separate that, there wouldn't be a lot of back and forth. Because it's like, you can't really be in healthy relationships with people where you guys don't have a similar energy because you're not equally yoked, and you don't have to force it. I've realized that people who try to force themselves into my life, the reason why the relationship didn't work is because we weren't building it off of the same morals. So it's like, just because somebody's favorite color is purple and your favorite color is blue doesn't mean that you guys can't be friends. But if you guys can respect why you both like the colors separately and learn from each other instead of, like I said, making it seem like one is better than the other. Or you could hang out with people who only like the color blue. I just feel like it's really important to surround yourself with like-minded people. So therefore, like I said, there's no conflict. Like, yes, you're going to go through things with people, but it should never be to the point where you're yelling and you're screaming and you're fighting, like anything that lowers your vibration. Because now, anything that you're doing that's not of who you are, like I said, individually, if you're content with yourself, is opposite. And I've realized that every single person that I've had to encounter and not be in my true essence and be in my true character with somebody that was not compatible with me. I don't like yelling and arguing or having to put my hands on other people, and I don't want people doing that to me. I've realized every single person I've had to be extremely cutthroat with were people who did not align with my morals or my character. It's no reason why we're yelling and arguing, especially now. I'm 28 years old. Even when I was younger, like I said, I haven't had a lot of altercations with people. The times that I did, I just realized these are people trying to force themselves into my life. These are people trying to be around me. I don't want to be around them. And of course, when you get to meet people, sometimes some people, like I said, like to mask their energy. They try to pretend, but eventually you can't pretend who you are and end up showing. So some people you do have to learn over time. But once you learn, once you recognize it, once you are, like I said, strong with your boundaries and your morals, you know who's for you, who you know who's not. If you're not able to if you're not able to distinguish or discern who's for you and who's not, you need to work on yourself. Because you have a lot of people will sit here and say they're friends with people, but they don't support the things that they do. Or they can be like, oh, I could be friends with somebody who steals, but that has nothing to do with you. It does. The people you surround yourself with is important, and that's the problem. People are surrounding themselves with people because they have attachment issues, because they have codependency issues, and they can't be alone. I don't want to be friends with people who don't know who they are. I don't want to be friends with people who are not independent, who need to be around people all the time just because they're bored. Because it's like, if you're comfortable with yourself and you take care of yourself, even on the days that you feel bored, you're not settling or tolerating things just to keep you entertained. You feel me? Now, if you're the type of person and you hang out with people just to hang out with them, but you don't invite them to your house, or you don't have a close connection, if you can't trust them, you can't call them and confide in them, those are not your friends. Those are your associates. And like I said, people love to throw that friend word just so lightly. Like, stop calling people your friends if they're not your friends. Like, I don't do the fake surface level, hey, how are you? No. Because we don't have to speak. You feel me? Does that make sense? So it's like, it's really important to surround yourself with people who are like-minded so you can avoid conflict. So what are the recommendations? Make sure you know who you are. That's the first thing. Make sure you know who you are before you get in a relationship with people. Make sure you know who you are. Make sure you know what your non-negotiables are, and make sure you know what you like. So your homework assignment and your challenge is to figure out who you are, what it is that you like and what you don't like. So therefore, when it comes to other people and places and things, you know what to look for and you know what to avoid. And the more you practice this, the more you can be in alignment naturally. It's not forced, and a relationship will prosper and be healthy. You never have to force people to be in a relationship with you, and you're not going to feel desperate or, seek validation and be a people pleaser. You feel me? So your homework assignments are going to be due on the piece of paper that you're taking notes on in the comment section in this video or in the next one. The why am I getting so tongue twisted? Like, what's going on? The second recommendation is that when you are building, like I said, community, you're taking your time. Whatever you expect for yourself, whatever you're willing to pour out, whatever you know you're capable of doing, make sure you're getting that in return. So for example, if I know I'm able to articulate myself and I have high emotional intelligence, everybody else around me has to be on the same page. It's a non-negotiable. Now, if you need time to figure out your emotions and how to communicate and articulate yourself, that's cool. I'll be willing to be patient. But you cannot expect me to do certain things for you if you don't do them for yourself. I believe in equality. I'm not just going to hang out with people just because I'm hanging out with them. That's a non-negotiable. And that's why everyone is not my friend, okay? Number 3, you also have to realize that these people want the same things. So when you celebrate, when you're successful, you're happy, it doesn't seem like competition. When people surround themselves with any and everybody, like a lot of people, if you're confident, you surround yourself with people who are insecure, it doesn't make you a bad person, but everything is constantly going to be comparison. Like, this is why certain people I went to school with, certain people I work with, and even certain people I was related to, I had to separate myself from them, because it's just like, I am very full of myself. There's nothing wrong with being full of yourself, because I love myself. I can't be around people who don't love themselves, because there's no limitation. So it's like, when I do something, when I'm happy, when I talk about something, it shouldn't seem like I'm being braggadocious or I'm trying to flex. Like, no, I'm allowed to think highly of myself. People that have a problem with you thinking highly of yourself or speaking of yourself, once again, I don't need to be in a relationship with you, because like, why don't you support yourself? Why don't you love yourself? Love doesn't have a limit, and there's no right or wrong way to love yourself. So it's just like, if me loving myself bothers you, once again, that's not going to work. I'm not going to lower my standards just because you're not comfortable with yourself. This is why it's important to surround yourself with certain people that are similar to you. Like, I'm not surrounding myself with people, let's just say, who are insecure, and then be like, that has nothing to do with me. That does, because that means you're willing to be around somebody that does things that are not compatible with you. To me, that's kind of desperate. That's just how I look at it. I'm not that desperate just to hang out with people just because. Now, of course, like I said, when you're in school, when you have to work with people and, you know, you don't get to pick them, of course, like I said, learn to tolerate them, because you don't, like I said, want to be having altercations. You don't want to be getting fights with people. You don't constantly want to keep going back and forth with people. Like, accept them for who they are, agree to disagree, or don't. And that's the fourth or fifth thing. Once you realize somebody's not for you, they don't have to be for you. Like, everybody's not for my messages. Everybody doesn't have to agree. I'm not asking you to. The people that are meant to get it are going to get it. Those who don't. And the people, let's just say, who are not compatible with you, but they want to be compatible with you, they're willing to put in the work. It goes both ways. If I'm in a relationship with people, I have to be willing to put in the work and meet certain standards and certain things that they have, and vice versa. If not, once again, why be in a relationship with people? Why hang out with people just to hang out with them? Like, I think it's important that your community is a reflection of you. It's really important to have a community. And a lot of people be like, a friend to everyone. No, like, I don't want to be around people where people can't be cordial with each other or feel safe, and it's always an issue. I gotta ask who's there. Like, no, community, I feel like, is important. Like, I don't think there's nothing wrong with having genuine men and women, grown adults, mature adults, who can tolerate, or not even tolerate, who respect one another and who want to be around each other. Because that's another thing. When you surround yourself with like-minded people, it's mutual. Relationships are not gonna work if it's not mutual. If you have to force it, if you have to go above and beyond, or when you communicate and they look at it as an argument, I'm telling you guys from experience, it's so many people, I'm snapping my fingers because I'm so quick to cut people off, because it's just like, for me, it only takes one little thing for you to be like, this is not going to work. Because it's like, healthy relationships go through things, but you guys are willing to solve the problem together. If you guys are not willing to solve a problem that you guys experience together, it's not going to work. And like I said, that's when I realized the only time I've had altercations with people and I had to be cutthroat, or I had to do certain things that were not in my character, was when I was around people who were not compatible with me, because they weren't in my standards. And this doesn't mean that, you know, sometimes people think they want to be around people. Sometimes people think they like certain people, and then they get around them and you just realize, yeah, this is not going to work. A lot of things look good on the outside until you peep it on the inside. So that's all I'm gonna say. Make sure you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Even when you guys have, like I said, problems, you guys are solving the problems together. Even if you guys are looking at it from a different perspective, you guys are working together. Like, don't surround yourself with just anybody. Don't just just because you're bored, or just because it's convenient, or just because they're there, because it's not going to be genuine. Like I said, unless you are working with people, which they're not your friends, your coworkers aren't your friends, your classmates aren't your friends. Like I said, if you're going to build a relationship and call somebody your friend, make sure you're a friend to yourself first. So therefore, like I said, the relationships can last. So therefore, you're able to have good times. When you fall out with them, because eventually, you know, nobody's going to be in your life forever, it doesn't have to end on bad terms. Like, when I fell out with people, I've never told none of their secrets. I've met people, I fell out with them and they've told my secrets, or they end up turning on me, and I just had to realize there's no way we could have been compatible. There's no way you have respect for yourself for me, and it just ended up being like that. Not everybody. I had some people I fell out with and we ended on good terms, but some people we didn't. It just goes to show that we were never meant to be in the first place. So thank you guys for watching the video all the way to the end. Thank you guys for always engaging and having your post notifications on. Thank you for always subscribing and liking these videos. Follow me on all my social media platforms. All the information is currently down in the description box below. If you're interested in the service and session, click the link. It's in the description, as well as follow me on my Instagram and my TikTok with all my social medias down below. I will be going live answering you guys' questions, comments, concerns if you're not able to afford a session or a service. If not, DM me on Instagram. But it's important to surround yourself with like-minded people, so therefore things can just be easy, breezy, and beautiful. Cover, okay? Love you, bye.